Welcome to another edition of Talk to People podcast. And today I am privileged to come to you, first of all, from Hardesty's Meats and Deli right here on Lake Road, Benedict, Pottinger, wherever we are.
Yeah.
And I have family member Haley Smith with me. And Haley, you have quite a unique story about Stay 988. And I'm just going to jump in and I'm going to talk to you about it.
Right.
Haley, what is your story? Where do you come from?
So I am from Seminole originally, and we just started Stay after Jonathan and I lost both of our dads to suicide, and we couldn't sit back and let another person leave that way. So
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about suicide in this time of holidays and just coming into some think the darkness of winter. This is a big issue. It becomes on the rise. And when I met this young lady, she was just so open about just losing her daddy that I thought, you know what, this is a unique opportunity for all of us to learn a little bit about suicide, what brings us to that point, and how important it is for us to love those who are there and also encourage them just to stay.
Right.
And when you say, you and Jonathan, first of all, give us some clarity. Who's Jonathan?
Jonathan is one of my very best friends. We grew up together a little bit, and we rekindled after both of our dads passed.
And when you say passed, mm-hmm. Jonathan and you have started a ministry or an organization called Stay 988. Mm-hmm. And when you say passed, you mean both your fathers committed suicide.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And it was out of the blue, and we didn't know really anything about mental health until this happened. And now we're both on a mission to make sure that people know where to get help and know that it's okay to get help.
So Stay 988 has a double meaning. First of all, stay is, hey, you're loved. Stay. And then 988 is reach out for help. 988 is the health number to give you, is the help number to give you help for mental health issues.
Right.
And Haley, I'm going to reel you in a little bit. This is just kind of, I'm feeling this.
Yeah.
I want to know, you say you guys didn't know about it. It came out of the blue. So describe what happened in the moments for both of you.
So I know for me, my father wore his emotions on his sleeve. But I did never think that he would get to that point. He was really sad, and couldn't really let go of a lot of the things that happened in his life. And it was just, I think the emotions got completely, he just festered inside of him and he didn't know how to let it go. And I think for Jonathan, they had no idea. They had no idea his dad was struggling with mental health. They had no idea that his dad was even remotely on edge with anything. So our stories are kind of different. Like I said, I saw my dad's emotional side and I knew that he needed help, but they didn't know that John's dad needed help.
Wow. And so we come to that day, I guess. What happened with you, Haley?
So it was a normal Sunday, and I had been recovering from a car accident 2 days before. I was traveling to work with my kids, and we were struck by a semi. And like I said, we were recovering. Everybody is fine. And that day, my dad asked to go to church with us, but I told him I was going to stream it. I didn't feel good. I was still kind of sore. And he was really quiet that day, didn't really talk a whole lot to us. And then right about at 3:30, he called and he said that he couldn't take it anymore and that he couldn't be here anymore. So I called my mom, and my mom was like, I'm already on my way. I know we're going to get him help. I think he's really going to try to commit, and we're going to get him help. So I had walked outside. My kids were playing outside with my husband Trevor and his best friend Dennis, and it was like a movie scene. Like the sun is shining, it's beautiful, and I go out there and I just had the biggest lump in my throat because I didn't want to tell Trevor that I needed to leave because everyone was having a good time. And I walked out there and I was like, hey, I know that everyone's having a good time. I don't want to mess it up, but I need to go right now. And he didn't understand why. And I told him, I said, my dad, I think today's going to be the day. Either that he gets help or that he's going to commit. And Trevor was kind of irritated because, like I said, Dad had been through this a lot. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I love you, but I have to leave right now. Mm-hmm. And I left, and I called my dad, and he told us he was at a different location than he was. And I told him I didn't believe him. I was like, I know where you're at, and I'm going to come and help you. And I hung the phone up, and I drove 100 miles there. And before I get there, I called my mom, and I said, I found him. He's at Meemaw's, which is our land, so you need to get here. And she said, okay, we're at his house. We're leaving right now. And just in the I think it was a 5 minutes and 39-second phone call with my mom. I get there, I see my dad, and like I said, I have my mom on the phone, and I'm telling my dad, like, I love you. This is insane. And I was upset. I was mad, because I was watching my kids play baseball, and now I'm here trying to save my dad's life. And I think that he was already gone by the time I got there. He had taken all of his anxiety medication, and he was drinking as well. And I don't think that he understood where really he was at anymore. And I had saw the gun holster in the seat, and I asked him to give me the gun, and he said that he didn't have it. And at first, I kind of was like, okay, I can't really fight with a man that's like 300 pounds. I mean, I can try, but, and he just didn't look good. So I didn't want to get physical. So I had gotten his pill bottles just in case something were to happen, to make sure that the doctors knew what he had taken, and as well as just everybody in case something were to happen. And I'd walked back to my car to put them in my car. And then I was walking back to him, and he got out of his car, and he told me that he loved me and that he was sorry, and he shot himself. And then maybe another minute went by, and I was holding his wound. I was trying everything I could to stop it. I had his blood all over me. My mom was there. Scott was there as well, and they helped as well until the ambulance got there. And they had tried to Metaflight him, but he didn't make it. He was unstable, and they couldn't move him at all. So after maybe an hour of happening, he had passed, and the officer told us. And that's just kind of when it clicked. I was like, okay, that just happened, and I need to make sure that this never happens to somebody else again.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. First of all, how unique it is for someone going through that to be able to sit with relatively a stranger,
right,
and just share that story.
Yeah.
That's a gift, Haley.
Thank you.
And it's horrifying. And first of all, I want to say hello to your husband Trevor and say, wow, man, no, I understand, you know, what's going on, because obviously there was probably a lot of times or a lot of things going on prior to that in your family. You know, you come to a point as him being a leader of your family too, going, oh, come on.
Yeah.
You know, let's and you just don't know what's going to happen, is what I just understood, is that, okay, mom kind of had an inkling, you had an inkling, you guys are connected. Yeah. But you just don't know what's going to happen. Right. And then you said something clicked on the inside of you and said, okay, I'm supposed to help others and not have this happen to them.
Yes.
Take
And,
us forward from there.
Um, I wanted to make sure, not necessarily like my situation where somebody had to see someone commit, but it was just seeing how hurt our whole family was. My whole family was there at the scene. I mean, my uncles, my aunts, everybody. And they were like, he was so loved. And I can't believe it. And I was like, I can't either. But I have to make sure that every single person, I'm just one person, but I have to make sure everybody knows that they're loved, even if it's from a stranger. This is my last opportunity to make sure that no one ever has to go without to make sure that they're loved.
So you come up with stay. Tell us what
Yes.
stay means.
So it was the only thing that I asked my dad to do. In that moment, I told them, like, if you just stay just 5 more minutes, help is here, and that's all that I said to him, and he didn't. And I think that if I am able to just tell one person to stay with 988, it will make a message there. Okay, you know what? There's a random girl from Seminole County that's willing to do all of this hard work and to spread her message. She just wants one person to stay. I don't care who it is, anybody, just one, to make sure that they know that I know that it's rough, but if you just stay a little longer, it will be so much better.
Well, you mentioned his brothers. I'm thinking brothers and sisters there, or the family there,
Mm-hmm.
and then you said he was just so loved. So the fact of the matter in reality was that he had a lot of love around him, but he for some reason there was a block and he did not get that block.
Right.
And so that's a message, I would think, in itself for anyone who is contemplating that. Or what would be the message for that you guys learned or could maybe help others know, if you love someone but they're consistently going through this path, what advice would you give? Or
I would. That's a hard one because it's more of like just talk it out and things like that. I think it's just actually listening and sitting and being like, okay, I understand where you're at. And I know that it's hard and I know that all these things are happening. But if you stay and you get the help and you reach out to people, because a lot of, like, my dad didn't reach out. I mean, he reached out to me. I was his emotional support person since I was like 12. And so I never told him to call someone and maybe talk to somebody else about it because I was a kid. But I think that if you just reach out, there's going to be something that someone says that's going to be like, okay, you know what? You're right. I can make it through this. And I think learning the coping skills and the emotional skills to train yourself to make sure that you are going to be okay, to let yourself know that you're going to be okay. Because a lot of people don't know that. They don't have that fight left in them anymore. But if you give them the fight, somebody will take it and understand.
yeah, your dad was trying to reach in his
Right.
ability
Right.
for help. And so stay, the message can go two ways in the sense of the individual
Right.
who's struggling. Hey, look, just stay for
Right.
5 more minutes. Just stay.
Right.
And those who love them and that see this turmoil going on, maybe it's stay with them for
Right.
another 5 minutes.
Right,
But
yeah.
also it's the 988. 988 is a resource for all of us, whether
Right.
we're going through it or we're watching somebody go through this, to be able to help talk about that resource and what that would mean if perhaps I'm seeing this happen with somebody. If I called 988 and said, hey, I'm seeing this, what do I do?
Right. They would definitely be able to give you the tools to relay the message to that person. And they would be able to help you with the other person. If the other person, like my dad, didn't ever want to reach out for help, and if I would have known the 3 numbers to be able to be like, hey, is there anything that you can give me that I can tell my dad to do? I think that would have, and hoped, I think that he would still be here. But yeah, definitely. I think that they would be able to give you the tools and tell you, hey, this is what you need to do. You need to be proactive. You need to make sure that they're okay. And here's how we can help you. And it's a whole person on the other side of the phone. It's not a computer. It's not generated text and things like that. It's an actual person that's ready to sit for hours to talk to you and just to listen.
And listening, again, we come back to that. What do you think, or do you have any idea, Haley, that led your father, or we can take it out of context in your research, what leads to this type of situation for an individual and for an entire family, I guess, because everybody was impacted?
Right. I think what leads you to that moment is just, you honestly do not think that there's a single person here that cares enough or that is willing to listen. And I think what really drove my dad to the point is that I've tried to give you and tell you why I'm sad, and it's not being fixed. And I think, I don't know, that's hard, but I think just listening, just 100% listening and being there is going to help. But I think, drawing back to the question, sorry,
Okay.
I think it's just emotion and people not knowing how to handle and how to cope with things and really take things in and just be like, okay, I know that this is out of my control and I can't do anything about it, so I'm gonna lay it down and hopes that it can be fixed. So,
Do you mind if I ask just some like random questions that
Yeah.
maybe people are thinking or knowing? I dealt with an alcoholic father, so there was a chemical there
Right.
involved. You'd said he'd taken his anxiety medicine.
right.
Was it maybe like medically induced or addiction induced or something like that?
I think so. I think because he definitely abused the way that he took his medicine, and he also didn't take it the way that he needed to in order to help him. On days that he was feeling really anxious and he was shaky and things like that, he would take 4 or 5 Xanax at a time rather than one. And I think that, taking that much medication at one time can really, I think it just kind of stirs things up. And okay, well, I'm still not feeling any better, so I'm going to take more. And it's just a cycle, I think, that my dad had gotten into. And if he wasn't able to take his Xanax, it was his other medication that had nothing to do with anxiety that he could still get a little bit of relief off of. So I think it was definitely the over medicated. And also I believe that it draws back to, if you just sit and listen and you let someone talk to you, I think that can do a world of wonders, rather than kind of putting it off and being like, okay, here, take this and we'll see how it is. And I'm not saying don't take the medicine, and don't not take the medicine that you are prescribed, but also just talk to somebody and let them know. Talking can do a world of things that medicine can't touch.
And when you say talk to people, that's the doctor as well, in the sense of if you're prescribed medicine, that's for a reason.
Yes, 100%.
But those are chemicals that you're inducing into your body, and they may cause things that you think differently. Whatever, however it fires in there.
Yeah.
Not being a doctor.
Right.
That's a tough situation. But if there is medication involved, and you know that as an individual, open up to the doctor. Open up with your physician to say, hey, I noticed this about my brother, or I noticed this about my husband, or whatever you can do about my dad.
Right. And that's where I wish I would have, like, I replay it every day in my head, but I wish I would have listened just a little bit harder, and because we know everybody personally that was at the doctor's office and things like that. And one of the things when my dad did pass was when the medical examiner came in, he said, who's Haley? And I told him who I was, and I was like, that's my dad. And he was like, how long has he been dealing with this? And I was like, his whole life, I think. And he was like, yeah, I was kind of looking over him, and there's all these cuts on places you can't see, and there was cuts all over his chest and the inner part of his thighs. And I was just like, man, if I would have known that one piece of evidence, I think I could have called his doctor, or even the nurses down there and told them, like, look, my dad's not doing well. And I think it would have definitely, they are more proactive. And I think that they would have been able to help more than what I could have, you know.
Yeah, well, what a heart you have in what you're saying. I mean, your message is, hey, talk to people.
Yes.
Stay, 988. Just talk them through it. Talk each other through it.
Right.
Tough situation,
Yeah.
Haley.
Yes, yeah.
And when did this happen to you?
This happened February 5th.
Of this year?
Of this year, yes, yeah. And we started stay March 9th is when John and I were at the gym, and I was doing deadlifts and he was squatting, and I was like, you know what, Johnny, we've been through it. Let's start a t-shirt company and maybe we can help somebody. And he was like, dude, whatever you want to do, let's do it. And so it's kind of,
okay,
it's
so
turned
what
into
Haley
this.
said, she kind of choked on, but she said, let's start a t-shirt company.
Yes, sorry. Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
is Stay 988. Tell us
Yes.
where we can find you guys, how we can look at the t-shirts you have.
Yes.
It's a really cool site.
Yes. So we're on Facebook. Our Facebook page is Stay with the semicolon 988. And the profile, there's a couple out there, but the profile picture is of our sweatshirts. And our website is stay988.squarespace.com is where you can look at all of our merch and all of the things that we offer. And my personal, I probably shouldn't, but my personal contact information is on there, because I know some people, if anybody were to go to that site and have the hard time that they're having and they just can't get through it. I mean, I've always told people, call me. I don't know who you are, call me and I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you until you're okay.
And this is a message it's very local for this time, but it's also a message that is gaining ears throughout the country. You've had some exciting contacts. People call you and ask you to come talk to them.
Yes.
So tell us about that.
Yeah, so we reached out. We've had a lot of people actually reach out to us saying, like, hey, there's a third party that is telling us about all of your stuff. Would you be able, to come down and do these things with us? We've been in contact with the Savannah Bananas baseball, and they're really fun. And the news has been a huge piece of our outreach. And schools as well. We've had a lot of schools contact us and ask us to come share our story, as well as the things that we give out pamphlets, and they're cute little pamphlets to tell the kids how to, look the signs and how to contact somebody and where, and that it's 100% confidential, nobody will know, and things like that. And we also were able to add in our emotional support dog, Boomer, that we adopted from the shelter. He was there for 490 days, I believe.
Wow.
And we went to the Children's Museum, and I told Trevor, I was like, okay, if we could just get one dog, and I think that he'll make a world of difference. And I get there, and they told us who he was. They told us his little story. He's been there forever. And I left, and I told Trevor, I was like, I'm going to drop you guys back off at home. You didn't tell me I could, but I'm going to go ahead and go grab Boomer. And he said, he was like, I've never been able to tell you what you can and can't do. So if you think it's a good choice, then do it. So I have Boomer now, and he actually starts training soon. He is the best dog ever. And I think that he's going to be an awesome piece to stay when we do go travel to our schools and talk to the kids and things like that.
And so getting on the Facebook page, you can reach Haley directly, and she can come and talk to kids. And remember, I remember you saying, I've been his emotional support since I was 12.
Yeah.
Kids are going through it, and they need to know what to be able to do. So whether it be kids, adults, families, I bet you would talk anywhere and any place that somebody would listen, wouldn't you?
Yes, 100%. Anywhere, anytime, any place. And I know that our younger generation, because a lot of people have asked, like, why kids? Like, your dad wasn't a kid. And I think it starts that young. And I think if we are able to implement ways to cope with your emotions and ways to reach out, it can start from there and just blossom as an adult.
And I love to say, and I mean, my heart breaks for 12-year-old Haley.
Yes,
13,
yeah.
14, 15. At 15, if you knew the number 988, you might have said, hey, I don't know what's going on, but this is really kind of wild with my dad. You know,
Yeah,
how
oh,
a kid's
100.
innocence just
Yeah,
can take over
100%.
and perhaps help save a life.
Yes, yeah, I think that if I would have known that when I was that young, I mean, I definitely would have, I would have reached out and been like, hey, I don't know what to do. But if there's anything, I would greatly pass it to my father.
And I think that happens more than maybe we all want to recognize, is that kids are being relied upon like that,
Right.
from parents in the household. Well,
Right.
Haley Smith, what a gift it is, first of all, just to meet you here
thank
as a part
you.
of the Oliver
Yeah.
Hardesty family.
Yes, yeah.
But then for you to be able to come on and talk like this to us, thank you very
Of course,
much.
always. Yeah, like you said, anybody that'll listen, anybody. It can be anybody. I will sit all day and talk and share and make sure that somebody knows that there's ways to reach out and just to stay just a little bit longer.
Stay 988. Another wonderful morning. Thank you very much for listening to us. Haley Smith,
Yes.
our guest today, and I'm Daniel Shaughnessy on the Talk to People podcast. We appreciate you always tuning in, share it, but this week we'd really like to see you go to stay semicolon 988 on Facebook and read a little bit more about this little t-shirt company that's popping up to try to help the world.
Yep.
Thank you, Haley.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you.